Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faye and today I have a very special video for all of you. I would like to share a little bit more about what I do for work, and after much debate, and trust me, I've debated about this for a very long time now, I've decided to have the courage to share with you more about it today. Now, I apologize in advance for the unpredictable lighting. The sun is setting and I decided to film this quite later in the day. I hope you bear with me. Won't waste any more of your time. Let's get started. Many of you may or may not know I am a speech therapist, or the formal name is speech language pathologist. And it's funny because every time I meet somebody and after telling them what I do for work, 80% of the time people would ask me, what does it mean? What exactly do I do? So I figure today for this video, I'm going to explain to you what I do for work on a day-to-day basis. Also to explain to you who a speech language pathologist is, what they do, and how to become one. So in the United States, in order for somebody to practice as a speech language pathologist, they would have to graduate with a master's degree either in science or in arts from an accredited speech language pathology program from a university. And this person would have to go through 3 to 6 months of internship and another 9 months of fellowship, and then they could apply for a clinical competence certification, and that person would then be certified by the American Speech Language Pathology Association and could practice anywhere in the US. Now, depending on the state that you decide to live in and practice in, you might have to apply for a specific license in that state, but the requirement would just be the same, 9 months of fellowship. So as a speech language pathologist, you could work in a private clinic. You could also work in a hospital, a school district. You could also work for yourself as an independent contractor. You could also work at a skilled nursing facility or an adult daycare center. There might be other settings that a speech language pathologist could work at, but I couldn't think of any more on top of my head. So as a speech language pathologist, you could work with adults or children. So when I was in Seattle working at Swedish Medical Center, I worked with adults primarily, and now after moving to California, I am primarily working with children. After graduated from Washington State University, I worked about 6 months at Swedish Medical Center in Seattle, working at the Cancer Institute. I saw young, healthy people, young, healthy adults, just like me, just like you, just like any one of us. They would not smoke, they would not drink, they live a very healthy lifestyle, but cancer would still happen to them. And that experience was very life-changing for me. I've learned to appreciate life. I've learned to appreciate my health, and it's something that I realized that most of us take for granted. My patients would include young professionals who would use their voice in a strenuous way at their job. Say they have to answer phone calls a lot, if they have to give speeches a lot, if they have to give presentations frequently, then they would sometimes develop tension in their vocal cords, and their voice will become hoarse and raspy and occasionally become whispery or breathy, and it's very difficult for them to speak, or sometimes it would become painful for them to speak. So that would be a part of voice therapy. And then after I moved to California, I have been working primarily with the pediatric side, so mostly working with little children under 18 years of age, kids who have a speech delay because they don't speak as much as their peers, or they don't communicate what they want to their parents, to their caregivers, to their teachers in a functional way. I would provide articulation therapy, which basically I teach them to pronounce their words, articulate the words and the sounds accurately, and also occasionally I get cases where they suffer from stuttering, cleft palate or cleft lip. Autism encompasses a spectrum of severity, characteristics. There could be cases where they are nonverbal, which means that they don't have the ability to use their words vocally to communicate, and in those cases I would teach them alternative ways to communicate, whether via an iPad app or via phone, typing, texting, writing, anything that would help them get their point across, get their wants and needs across, and to express their opinions and their desires and their feelings. And there would be cases where they are communicative verbally, but have a difficult time interpreting social rules. So then I would teach them how to behave in certain situations socially. I would help them with understanding emotions and facial expressions and what to do in certain situations. So it's a variety of things that I could do on a day-to-day basis. For kids that have a speech delay, depending on the age, the therapy session would be a little bit different. So let's say a child that is 2 years old and does not speak, and would just cry and yell and scream for what they want. That is a situation where a speech language pathologist could really help. I would first teach them to use signs to communicate for what they want, and once they understand the concept of using a method of communicative exchange to communicate what they want, then eventually I would teach them to imitate sounds and words in a natural, play-centered approach. And then if they are over 3 years old, going to preschool already or elementary school, depending on the age and also the type of therapy that they need, I would scale and structure the therapy session a little bit differently. For articulation cases, some of them would have difficulty pronouncing certain sounds, and it's very common for children to say wabbit instead of rabbit. The R sound is very difficult sometimes. The S sound can be very difficult. So let's say you want, instead of saying sun, they'll say ton. Another type of speech problem that they could have is apraxia. Basically, it means they have difficulty sequencing sounds to produce words. For example, if they want to say cat, it's very hard for them to sequence k, at to produce the word cat. So when you want them to imitate the word cat, they'll say a, k, something like that. But it would be very difficult for them, and because of that, because it's very difficult for them to sequence the movement to produce sounds, something that we all do subconsciously and we take for granted, But because of this problem, their speech is very unintelligible. It's very difficult to understand what they want to say. In a therapy session, I would help them learn to produce the sound sequence from the bottom up approach, to see or to be able to witness a child's first word. It is one of the most amazing feelings in the world. I distinctively remember when one of my little clients called me Faye for the very first time that I seen him. I think at that point I was seeing him for about 2 or 3 months. I almost teared up, and yeah, it's a very rewarding job. If you have any personal experience with anyone in your life who has struggled with speech or language problem, let me know. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to try to produce more videos and post every Tuesdays. And until next time, bye!